Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Hoop Show. My name is Ben Reeve and I'm joined as usual by the man, the myth, the legend, and also the man in the bear suit at the Chinese Zoo. Welcome, Mr. Paul James. How are you going? And do you know about the bear suit? Because have you heard about that one? Your face tells me that you're
not ringing too many bells.
You got to get back on the Twitter, mate, or the X or whatever.
There was X or whatever we're calling it. I don't recognise any bear suits, but
there was a bear.
People recognised me from the show though at the game yesterday.
Oh, how many?
I had one person who stopped me and like, "Hey, Paul, Hoop Show," and
really?
that's kind of cool,
mate. You're a celebrity these days. No, well, there was just for everyone who doesn't know about the bear story. Apparently, there was some controversy that there was a sun bear at a Chinese zoo, and they're a little bit funny-looking thing, and they looked like it was a human being in a dodgy-looking bear suit. Yes. Anyway, that was a horrible start to the.
Where was it again? It was in. Where did you say it was? It was in China.
Somewhere in China. I don't know. China's a big place.
Malnourished and they hadn't looked after it properly.
Yeah. So a couple of skin fold issues there to sort out, mate. The Cats, we had a win, finally.
We had a win.
We're back on the winners list, and we're still in the finals. And last week's episode was very doom and gloom. I think a lot of people sympathised with us a little bit on the chat, and we had good interaction in the comments down below. It was a tough one to swallow last week, but we turned things around somehow this week against Port. Thankfully, the injury gods were smiling on us, knocking a few Port players out in the lead up to the game. But you went to the game. How'd you find it? First time back at Kardinia Park in many a moon?
In a long time. I was kind of having the realisation as I was going, heading into the game that, all right, I haven't been here since pre-pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of stretching a little bit further back, I'm thinking, I don't think I've been here since before my son was born. That was the end of 2018. So,
okay.
Let alone then the kind of realisation as I'm there with the lights and the light show that they kind of put on, like, have I been to a night game here? Like, I think I've been to, I distinctly remember a Geelong Melbourne game. I think it was a milestone game for someone where I think Max Gawn basically pinched it right near the end. Not that one from the other year, but young Max Gawn pinched it right near the end. I think, might have been Boris's 300th.
I think it was Boris. It was Boris's.
Yeah, Boris's 300th.
It was the coldest day on record, pretty much. And
I was there for that. That was kind of a twilight game in the end. But also, I can't remember how long ago that was now. I don't even know if we had the lights at that particular point. So
that's a good question. I know we had the outer, well, that was, I don't know how many years ago now. It feels like about 10 years ago now.
Yeah, it's been quite a while. So
yep.
I don't exactly recall how long it's been since the lights have been there, but like I pretty clear, and I don't think I've done that, or it's because of the light show that kind of gets put on these days that a lot of clubs are doing if it's their home game. That I'm like, I don't think I've seen this in Geelong before, and so now I'm questioning whether I've actually been to a night game in a while or not. But at the very least, it's been basically since 2018, thanks to children and COVID. So
did they have the fireworks? I'm not sure if they had.
They busted the fireworks out.
Yep.
Certainly heard a few of the elderly citizens in the crowd gasp for a moment there. Maybe there was some pacemakers being tested. But yeah, it was great to be there. It was a great game to watch. Both teams really kind of hell for leather at a lot of different points. And as you say, the gods kind of smiling a little bit upon the Cats there. A lot of things that we kind of discussed last week kind of played out in the end. I mean, from Alir being knocked out.
Which you weren't happy about. You were not happy about that.
That needed to happen. And actually, I'm surprised the AFL kind of got the stones to actually do it in the end.
Yeah.
And then obviously, Charlie Dixon dropped out with illness before the game. Finlayson dropped out with illness before the game. Mackenzie early on in the piece, like just a few things fell our way, which offset the fact that we were obviously missing Blitzarves and Hawkins, and gives Guthrie another week, and we lost Jack Henry during the game as well with a foot, which puts the fear of God through you, but apparently it's the other foot and it's just got stepped on. It's a bit bruised, but
we'll see.
It was like everything that had kind of been dragging us back. Port seemed to cop the same sort of stuff and brought them back to the pack. And to be fair, the intensity from the Cats was fantastic. And so they gave themselves every chance and absolutely deserved the win.
Yeah, it was just my quick thoughts on the game before we get into it in a bit more detail. It was a good game to watch. It was really frustrating at times, but that's because of the contest. I think we were making some mistakes, but then we were also playing some fantastic footy as well. And goodness me, Port are a great team to watch when they move the ball. Zach Butters, he's fantastic. Connor Rosie,
the wheels on him.
He's amazing. He just changes direction. And Willie Rioli, couldn't do anything about him in the first little bit.
It was a bad matchup early on.
Yeah, but there were some really good signs from both sides, and credit to Port if you are a Port Adelaide supporter. For some reason, watching this show all about Geelong, your team played really well, and they should hold their heads high. So, considering all the outs,
just to shoot down Kane Corns, and any English fans here, there's no moral victory here. This is not a moral victory. A loss is a loss.
No,
lick your wounds and batter up next week.
You don't get an honorary 4 points for that. You get a 0, nada, nothing. Yeah. So, mate, set the scene a little bit for us before we get into the show. So, did you drive up? Did you catch the train up? And what were your thoughts on the way there? Were you doom and gloom? Last week was crap. Talk us through it, because not everyone gets to go to the games, and some people live in a state. So that's sort of the minutiae of going to a game of footy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm in this weird middle ground spot between Melbourne and Geelong, where I don't have a train line that takes me to Geelong. I have to either drive out of my way and then train it, or just drive directly, which is what I did in the end. And so it's about an hour and 10, hour and 15, especially then, a little bit longer, perhaps if you bloat out the, once the traffic starts piling in and the like. It's been such a long time. For a while there, I didn't even twig about the parking situation around at the moment. And I was with my dad, who'd managed to lock down a couple of tickets somehow during the week anyway.
Okay.
And he started talking about the park and ride thing. All right, I'll take your word for it. So it's a thing that the club's been kind of working with local public transport to tee up, so people are getting picked up and dropped off either at the racecourse or from Cotton On.
Okay.
And so we parked the car over at Cotton On, big car park there. There's a bus every 15 minutes before the game for about the first 2.5 hours or so before the game. And for the first hour to hour and 15 afterwards, it's just every 15 minutes, bus come, bring people over to Separation Street if it was the Cotton On, and obviously to the racecourse if that was your destination as well.
Right.
And it was a great little initiative there that kind of helped alleviate some of the congestion around the ground, given the current situation. In fact, look, I'd say it's something that they should absolutely persist with even after this situation. It was a nice thing that just thinned that traffic around a little bit. Like we ultimately had to depart through that still on the bus.
There's no way getting around it.
Yeah. The lack of cars, or like a relative lack of cars compared to what it would normally be like, surprised me. So, so certainly something they can stick with. But yeah, going into it, the anxiety was there, fully aware of basically what this game meant to the Cats. Again, everything we kind of discussed last week, that my gut feel, and we'll discuss the Pies at some point, I'm sure.
I'm sure we will.
But the gut feel being that if we lose this, that's it. We're toast. It's probably too much, or relying on too much luck to get the job done.
And did you go up with your dad, or did you say you met him there? Okay.
No, I went up with Dad.
And what's he like in the car? Is he like, do you chat about the footy? Is it
for the bulk of the last, what's it been? Probably 12 years or so. He's mostly been working overseas. So, and even this week, I mean, he's mostly back now, but it's only like a month or so since he's really kind of been technically based back in Australia again. So there's still lots of aspects that are kind of catching up and that sort of thing. Even the last week, he jetted off to China for the week to take care of some work stuff, and then came back and on Friday afternoon, evening or whatever, and then we're off the game next day. So a lot of it's just kind of catching up and those sort of things. So there was certainly conversations about footy, and even casting an eye to postseason and what happens with trades and drafts and those sort of things. Like he's a little bit out of loop in terms of realizing that we only had our first round pick, and then something that's going to be in the pick 80s at the moment.
And does he look at you these days and like you're a different person? Because you are a celebrity now, Paul. You are a co-host of the Hoop Show, and your dad. I mean, it changes family members sometimes. They do look at you differently. Like you're. Are you? Does he still feel like you're grounded? Have you lost your head a little bit? Have you changed?
No, he made the very quick smartass comment when I came back to my seat, having gone to get food at one point. I was like, I just got recognised. He's like, oh yeah, right, and just gave me a bit of a hard time for it. So, you're going to get a big head now? I'm like, no, mate, I've already had to deal with that when I've gone to gaming conventions and those sort of things. So let's dial that down. I got my head around this already.
All right. Well, we should kick on with the show. We should kick on. Thank you for that. It's nice to sort of get into the little detail about how we go.
Well, I
to
don't get to do it all that often.
No. So it's
a nice thing.
Yeah, and it's different for people from Geelong travelling up to Melbourne, and that's all fun as well. But anyway, well, look, the show rundown for this week. If this is the first time watching the show, thanks for joining. If you're a subscriber, fantastic. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. We love your comments down below as well. So don't forget to let us know about your thoughts about the game, thoughts about the show. Please share. We love all that sort of stuff. Now, we'll have a chat about the game. It's been about 5 minutes in, and we still haven't talked about the game yet. Not really, but we will.
Okay.
We'll go into some socials a little bit. We'll discuss the roll of honour. I think it's pretty clear who might have won that one, and then we might have a quick look ahead to next week, and we'll go around the grounds and we'll discuss some of the other results from the round as well. So, yes, back to Saturday night. We did get the job done just by 12 points, a couple of goals. It was some nervous moments there, especially in the fourth quarter. But there was a hell of a lot of Cats that showed a lot of heart in that last quarter. Maybe didn't have the best games, but at least we're gutsy in the end. I'm going to name someone like Mitch Duncan and a Paddy Dangerfield. Probably didn't have, in my mind, to my eye, at least watching on the TV, didn't look like they were having the best game, but they were giving it all in that last quarter, and sometimes that's what you got to do. It's about how much guts you show.
Yeah, I guess that's interesting. I won't show my hand too much for the votes later on. But,
there you go.
It's interesting you've mentioned at least one of those players in particular.
There you go. So that was great, and look, and things like, I mean, I don't know, this is a tough one. Tom Stewart's equal parts love and frustration for some Cat supporters lately, but he took a mark in that last quarter with about a minute to go, which I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a match-saving mark, but it was definitely it felt like a really, really big moment. Cats were only up by a bit at that stage, and ended up being just what we needed. He's still until that siren goes, mate. I just feel like I'm especially after last week. I was like, we just need to get this win. I don't care if it's by a point or whatever. But it was a great game. It was fantastic.
That's all it took,
yeah. What did you think about the first quarter? There's a lot of goodness me.
That was a spectacle.
Like 12 goals kicked or something like that. Ollie Henry.
Yeah, I mean, I sent you the message fairly early on. It seems like it didn't actually make its way to you until about half time.
No,
but
probably not.
as you obviously know, and a lot of the listeners, viewers will know, I've been banging that drum for Ollie Henry all season long, and to have a opening quarter like that, especially given the circumstance, Hawkins out, Cameron's still a bit down, still didn't put in a fantastic effort either last night, Jeremy Cameron. For him to step up like he did and kind of crack the game open and keep us on an advantageous position early on, despite the fact that Port were playing a pretty good brand of footy early on as well. I mean,
they were. It
was basically Ollie Henry v Willie Rioli for the first quarter and change.
Yeah.
It was really, really impressive. And even though the goal output kind of dried up after early in the second quarter.
That happens though, doesn't it?
I mean, yeah, exactly. Teams you've got to pivot and adjust. Otherwise he's just going to continue to do it, and he'll kick a Charlie Curnow 10 bag of 10 or something like that. But he still made his presence felt. He was always competing, always bringing it down if he couldn't clunk it himself. And obviously he played a big part in the final minute or two anyway, in terms of getting the ball off to Closey to kick the sealer. So fantastic game from Ollie Henry, but started really early on the piece. He set the tone for the Cats.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think we needed to get off to a good start. I think especially after last week, we couldn't be given a Port, a bit of a head start. So his 3 goals early was fantastic. I think he kicked 4 goals, nothing in the end.
4 for the game.
So 4 goals straight. So fantastic effort from him. And I thought pretty much the whole team was playing really well. I think it was a great game to watch on the telly, and I'm sure the neutral supporters thought it was good too. While Port had all those injuries, they were still turning up and they were ready to play. They were great to watch, and our boys were playing well as well. So defensively, it just didn't seem to be clicking for either side. But in terms of the way balls were moving, and it was a lot of highlights in that first quarter. So it was great to see. There was a decision, and I don't want to whinge too much about the umpires because I think we did get some decisions that went out. I think we won the free kick count, but there was
12 or thereabouts. Yeah,
I don't know if watching it live. Did you see the one where Dangerfield was on top of the Port player and gave away the free kick for holding the ball?
I mean,
and the crowd reaction. Tell me about that.
I understand what the umpire was trying to get at. Danger pulled it under, but then also Ollie Wines was the one that kind of wedged himself in the middle, and Danger wrapped him up. Like clearly, that was a strange one in the sense that how you could say definitively that Danger is responsible for that ball still being in there is beyond me. And so, as a bare minimum, it should have been a ball up.
And I just don't know why you need to blow the whistle in that situation. Like,
Yeah.
it's like half the time they don't anyway. And it's
Like, I definitely don't think it was a. I don't think it was a Geelong free. I don't think it was a Port Adelaide free. Like,
it was enough doubt.
Danger pulled it in. Ollie Wines found himself in the middle somehow, but that's because he's a brute and found himself in there.
Yeah.
And then, but like, who can you say? Like, Danger pulled it in. Ollie Wines is holding it there.
Yep. My favourite one at the moment is when the players gets caught holding the ball and they're trying to punch. I think you probably can't see if you're listening, but I'm holding the ball to my chest and pretending to punch it out. I can't get it out. I love it when someone gets done for doing that. It's like, mate, you're the one holding it in. Just let go. If you actually it's like that Simpsons episode where Homer's hand stuck in the vending machine and he can't. And it's like, mate, are you holding onto the can? Yeah.
Just let go.
Just let go. You'll be fine.
There's a thumbnail.
We'll have to use that one. So there's some good things. I think we don't normally on this show talk about some highlights from the other team, but that Sam Powell-Pepper goal in the last quarter was pretty special. I think he put him back within a couple of points or something like that from the Gary Ablett pocket there.
Hooked it very nicely.
Wow.
Not the big floater like Gary Ablett.
No.
Like a bit of a grass tip burner, but
a tighter angle and the moment of the game as well. It was a pretty special goal, and he kicked like 2 or 3 others like that as well. So he was pretty impressive.
He had a good game in front of the sticks.
Hard to stop, that's for sure. All right, we have to talk about Grine Myers, and I'll throw to you. What were your thoughts watching Grine live, and what was the crowd reaction around you like whenever he gets the ball?
I feel like the ground reaction wasn't necessarily as like they weren't necessarily as impressed as what you were kind of seeing online.
Really?
But I mean, to me personally, like it seemed obvious. Like it's the typical Grine Myers thing where he has like several moments of brilliance, and 5-goal assist says that, and 2 goals as well. But then, just like a Stevie J, he'll have a couple moments where, like, there's a couple that he just grasped, just awful scrubbing things that didn't really.
A 5-meter kick that just went along the ground the whole way.
Yeah, but he'd also butter up straight away and be right there and influence the contest again. And he actually did that on a couple of occasions that led to goals where he messed it up, chased up his own ball, got possession again, and delivered it to someone.
Yep.
I think about the Mitch Duncan goal in the last quarter where that was 100% like he butchered the kick initially, went again, delivered it. Like it was exactly what you want to see. So, and that's because he's got that work rate on top
he
of
just
everything
goes
else.
and goes.
So,
He used to be the 4th quarter specialist because he wouldn't start games that well, and this year's just been totally different. He's playing 4 quarters of footy now.
Quarters.
He'd always have the tank, and you'd see the best of Grine Myers in the 3rd and 4th quarters. But this year, you're seeing it for most of the game. He's not fading out of games like he does in the past, and he's just got that bit more strength and awareness. But yeah, the socials was going off. It was party time for Grine Myers on the socials, and I thought, and I'm watching on the telly, and it just took me back a little bit. It's not the same as Gary Ablett Senior, but it did remind me a little bit about Gary Ablett Senior. Whenever he would get the ball or get near the ball, there's anticipation of, what's he going to do? Here we go, it's a scoring chance. And every time Grine gets it now, I just feel like, we're in for a chance here. And that's what I used to feel like with Gary Ablett Senior. Whenever he was approaching the ball at breakneck speed in the forward pocket, thinking, here we go.
And I think that's in part it's actually that kicking action that I know has been maligned over the years, and you wouldn't like even Chris Scott, you wouldn't coach it, but because of that technique, it allows him to screw it in any kind of direction at any given point. Like he can slice it right across the body with ease because he's already slinging his leg. He can also then keep it straight and makes it impossible for a defender, let alone the person who's trying to maybe smother the ball. You got no idea what he's actually trying to do with it. So it does create that added anticipation as well, because it's just, you can't read it based on him having a very non-traditional, unorthodox kicking technique.
I'd love to see the champion data stats. I don't know where you access that, but I'd say he's doing a lot more short kicks this year than he has in previous years. He's lowering his vision a lot more, and he's working the angles a lot more. He's finding more space. I think I've mentioned that on the show before. He just seems to sort of know where to move, and
he goes for that 45-degree kick a lot more.
Yeah. He just seems to not be looking for that 40-meter sort of pass that's skimming across the grass. Just He's playing a lot smarter footy now, I think, and it's really having a great more effect. He's getting a lot more of that 1-2 stuff as well. You're just saying,
Well, he's also making sure to get it. I guess in part it's also where he was receiving the ball, and so in the past he would be, perhaps feeling like he needed to go for that 40-meter kick because he'd also get it closer to the wing.
Yep.
Whereas now he's, like the half forward player he is, he's actually getting it kind of that 60 meters out sort of thing, and so he can go longer if he needs to, and put it 20 out or something like that. But also he can slice it and go that 20 meter, 15, 20 meter, kind of chip kick.
Yeah.
And the person who's receiving it is now 40 meters out themselves, like they're within range, as opposed to really being stretched. Like he had to go, it was kind of all or nothing in the past because he would try to peel that off from further out. So
he's been great. Now, you did say the crowd didn't get crazy for Grine, but surely in that last quarter,
negative,
surely when he took that, when he tackled, I think it was Rosie, and he got the free kick, and then went back and kicked the goal. Surely the crowd lost their minds at that point.
Yeah, the crowd went nuts for that. Especially the holding the ball. And Rosie didn't take that too well.
He didn't.
He seemed pretty adamant he got something on it. But anyway, crowd went nuts for that, especially when he shelled it. That was awesome.
Can you tell me a little bit about Jeremy Cameron and how you think he's travelling to the naked eye? Because I know you were texting me before the game saying he's just shelling him from everywhere in the warm-ups.
There was only one that he missed, and that's like he basically. Oh, hang on, I'll watch the language. He ate SH1T because he just tripped at one point as he went to kick it, and didn't go well. But then it's just like it feels like he's getting closer again, like closer and closer and closer, but he just can't quite.
Yeah, chest marks.
I mean, his ground disposal, like the first one that led to Ollie Henry having the first shot at goal for us was Jeremy Cameron. It was absolutely brilliant. The disposal for him, like his ground ball play. I mean, he's still not picking it up super well.
No.
I wonder if maybe the hammy is a mild concern.
Yeah.
But like his ground ball play, I mean, but there's a few players that have been like the one touch is just not there. So it may not be that. It just might be that consistency.
We'll find out at the end of the year what injury. He's carrying something for sure. He's been carrying it all year. I'm sure if it's not a back injury or something, his mechanics are all out at the moment. But as I said, well, if we can get a couple of goals from him a game, and I'm sure the big game's not far away. I did think it was going to come this week, but it wasn't meant to be. And if people aren't aware, there is an official dog of the Hoop Show. His name is Barkley, I think. He does join us from time to time. So if you can hear Barkley in the background,
just a pain in the ass.
He's got a role. We can't do this show without him. So thankfully, the official cat of the Hoop Show, Pumpkin,
We've got a laneway that goes straight next to our thing, and so I guess if you've got some dumbass teen making a bit of ruckus down there, all of a sudden he's off.
So we do love Barkley, but anyway. So Jack Henry is foot. He's a little bit. I think you mentioned before he's or maybe that was off air, but the foot's not looking too great. He got stood on. He's going in for scans early in the week, so we'll probably know Monday, Tuesday, then the extent of that injury, if it is an injury or just bruising. So fingers crossed. I'd hate to lose if Hawkins doesn't get up, and I'm not confident that he will get up for the Pies, to not have Henry up forward as well. I was surprised that Shannon Neal didn't get called up, but how are you feeling about, it's all just guesswork, but how are you feeling about Henry? Are you thinking he might come up, and probably with the same question around Tom Hawkins?
Yeah, look, I'm not worried about an actual injury here, especially once I heard it was the other foot and it was he got trodden on. Okay, so it's going to be bruising.
Yeah.
But at the same time, will the swelling around that bruising die down enough that it doesn't impact his ability to kick the ball properly?
Yeah.
I think like he became not that it was clear from the stands anyway. Maybe it was a bit clearer on the TV, but like he was competing well in the contest, but he also couldn't. In retrospect, he just couldn't position himself right. And I wonder if that's because he wasn't able to put enough force through the foot to be able to push harder. And so, I mean, I guess it might just boil down to, can he get the strength through the foot that he needs over the course of the week? Or is the bruising going to, pull it back to 80, 90%, at which point maybe it's not worth playing him for the week. As for Hawk, I mean, Chris Scott got asked in the media conference, and he seemed to be a little bit cagey. Certainly suggested that like it's going to be pretty close, but maybe they'll take a cautious approach, considering it's his first ever hamstring. Make sure it's right rather than risk it. But at the same time, And again, we'll get to Collingwood in the Cats game next week later on. But there's an opportunity here with Nathan Murphy being out for the Pies.
Yes.
And that kind of leaves Darcy Moore as the sole tall, who, as a lot of people have been saying recently, is not in the best of form at the moment.
No, he had a shocker.
There is an opportunity there where you just get Hawk to play stay-at-home forward, engage, and just kind of go very old school. Pagan's paddock, clear the forward line.
Yep.
Hawk can't run much.
No,
that's fine, no worries. You can you can set yourself up to then counter Darcy Moore if he manages to win the contest and runs up the other end. But you put Tom Hawkins deep in that forward 50 and let him just ragdoll Darcy Moore around, and I think he could kick 4 or 5 goals and cut the game apart, despite the fact that he can't move much. Hell, he couldn't do much in round 1.
I was just about to say that, Paul, that round 1 he could barely move. I think he kicked 2 goals, 2 or something like that in round 1. Considering he didn't have a pre-season, not a bad effort really. Hopefully we get him back. But no, look, the side looked okay without Blitzars and without Hawkins. I still thought the footy was good to watch. We didn't. Clearly, I think you're going to miss him in the long run, and there'll be some times in certain matchups where you'll really notice it. It's only one game sample size, but hopefully, I think Blitzars is the bigger one for me. And it's funny to say that 11-time leading club goal kicker not playing, and Blitzars is the most important player. I think he's the one that, in terms of our structure, the biggest loss for us. So we'll see what happens with hopefully both of those two come. Well, Henry hopefully plays and hopefully Hawkins gets back. Jed Buse, I think, there's no VFL on the weekend, but Jed Buse, I think, played the week before in the VFL, so he might possibly come in as well. There's a guy called not Billy Elliott, Jamie Elliott. I don't think he does. So
we need to deal with Billy.
There's a couple of smalls for Collingwood that do concern me a little bit.
Bobby Hill, Jamie Elliott.
Yeah. A couple more, or one more before we get to the votes. What did you think of the new addition to the side, Sav Ratugolea, who's a bit of a love and hate relationship this year with the fan? Not hate. I think that's unfair. I think an acceptance that maybe he's not in our best 6, but I thought he was fantastic on the weekend.
If he's going to play defensively the way he did last night for the rest of the season, then they've got to find a way to keep him in there, because he didn't he didn't play that forward but in defense role that I've been criticizing him for over the course of the year. He stood side by side, he wrestled, he punched, or he marked. He didn't come through and try and split packs open, which, as we've discussed multiple times, kind of causes the issues. Knocks all the players over like dominoes, 10 pins, bowling pins, and then there's a small forward there to scoop it up and have a shot on goal. He played the way that you would want to see a defender play. Now, of course, there's always a time and place for that jump and spoil sort of thing, but it actually needs to be jump and spoil, not jump and try and take a giant hanger like he's a tall forward. So if you can play the way he played last night, then I think they need to consider ways to keep him in the team. But also, fantastic audition for him. He might have been Port Adelaide's best last night.
He was actually, I don't know if you remember this, but back in round 1 this year against Collingwood, he was, I don't know if he was the best player on the ground, but he was voted by the social media fans on Twitter as the best player on the ground. Won the Roll of Honour. So he at the very least played a great game in round 1 against Collingwood. So I doubt he gets dropped for the return match against them.
Yeah, I think so.
And I was really pleased for him. He looked very confident in the role, especially after being out of the team for so long, and then not sure where he sits anymore in terms of with finals not far off. Is he going to miss out again? What does his future look like? I'm assuming he wants to stay at the club. Hopefully the club wants to keep him, but if he's determined to lock down a big contract and move to another club and get more opportunity, I think he'll get opportunities at Geelong.
I think it's opportunity.
Yeah,
that's the main driving factor.
Will he get it at Geelong? I don't know. To me, it seems. I mean, someone was saying before, is out of him and Koladashny now. I don't know whether. I think they're slightly different type of players. You got to ask the question too. What are the club's plans for Sam De Koning in the long term, or even medium term? Is he going to become a centre half forward at some stage, or is he just a defender? Is that kind of that's his best role, and he'll stay there. So if we're planning to move Sam De Koning at some point, those two, I don't really like the two of them in the same side. I think one of them's probably the way to go, but we'll see. Mate, should we do some votes?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right. Now, you don't know my votes this time because, we do normally go off the same note sheet or run sheet, but this time we've kept it a little bit secret. But I suspect we'll have the best player on the ground still, or maybe we won't. Do you want to start with your 1, 2, 3 or 3, 2, 1?
Excellent point. Yeah, I'm sure we do share the same 3 votes. With Reece
maybe
Stanley
not.
at number 3.
Reece Stanley at number 3.
Sorry, Reece.
We love you, Reece. You're some dodgy moments during the game, but we love you.
Yeah, you had basically a first game and kind of towel you up a little bit there. But anyway.
Let us know in the comments what you thought about Reece Stanley's game.
Grine Myers with the 3 votes there.
What? Grine Myers? Yeah.
Absolutely exceptional from the goal assist to high possession rate. I haven't checked his disposal efficiency, but I'd imagine that was
high.
Huge as well.
Yeah, it's high.
83.3. Yeah, okay. For a bloke who had it 20 times, had all that influence. 83 is awesome, and 2 goals. So,
and a shocking kick goal too, by the way, 40 metres out. Anyway,
he's played some great games this year, but that might have been his best one.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I was very, very happy for him. 3 votes easily from me as well. I can't not give him the 3 there. Who'd you get for number 2? Now, I think this is where it gets a little interesting though. Number 2, I struggled with this one somewhat.
Ollie Henry for the 2.
Yep. Same.
For all the reasons that we've discussed, but no, we're absolutely going to differ on the 1. So, and I'll let you go first for that one.
All right.
Ollie Henry with the 2. I mean, for all the reasons we discussed before, he was the one that kept us in it early, like broke the game open, gave us the momentum, and then played an important part, despite the fact that he suddenly wasn't really the focal point for the remainder of the game. He played a really important part in structurally, but also setting up goals along the way. I'm sure if I was to check his goal assists and those sorts of things or score involvements, he'd still be right up there as well. He had 10 score involvements. Yeah. So kicked 4 himself and had 6 other involvements. So that's a fantastic output.
Yeah, even without the goals, he just on the eye, he looked like he was really in the game, and it's probably one of his better games for the club. If he kicked 2,
probably his best.
If he kicked 2 goals too, I probably would have said the same thing. It just turns out that he kicked 4 goals straight. So, same. 2 votes for Ollie Henry as well. Now, I'm going to do my 1 vote. As you said, I'll go first. This is a little harder, but I went with Tom Stewart for the 1 vote. I just thought Tom does it week in, week out. He's a 4-quarter player. He's not perfect anymore. He's made some mistakes this year, and the 4th quarter of last week was hard to watch. Tom making some really uncharacteristic mistakes, but he was terrific. He's just so solid down back, and I thought him and Ratugolea, the ball was coming in there a fair bit, and the midfielders just were working us around, using those angles a little bit, those Port midfielders. I thought Tom just stood up and was giving us that drive forward as well from defence. So he got my 1 vote. There's probably a couple others I could have given it to. I nearly gave it to Tom Atkins, actually. I thought just a lot of the pressure acts, just clear far and above the best pressure act player on the ground. I think 10 or 15 more pressure acts than anyone else. So fantastic. But who have you gone with the 1 vote?
So you went with the vice captain. I went with the skipper.
Okay.
Paddy Dangerfield. It's like I was talking to Dad on the way up. I thought he's going to play a big game. I felt like okay, they need to unleash the beast a little bit. And they didn't in the end. He still played 67% game time, so they're still holding him back a little bit. But
more in the second, third, and fourth quarters. Than he only started with 59%, so he clearly must have played about 70% after that to get to that level. So and I did notice him on the ground a lot more. Thank God he was playing a bit more.
Yeah, 20 disposals, lots of. I mean, I haven't got the actual pressure act stat in front of me, but he was always there. Always, like even if he couldn't, like there was one time there where I think 2 occasions where I saw him fail to actually quite catch. I think Jason Horne-Francis in one case, and can't think of who it was. It might have been Rosie or Butters on another occasion. But geez, he made him earn it, and to the point where their kicks weren't effective as a result. He got plenty of clearances. Tackling pressure was fantastic. Hit on the scoreboard too. Really awesome effort, I thought. Leading from the front. One
moment that really stood out to me is he was getting tackled and somehow got his arms free and got a handball out. So I think it was close. Got a handball out to him.
It might be the same play. It was one where he basically got dumped there at one point and bounced up from his knees. Like there was no feet. Yeah. He didn't use his hands to push himself up. Yep. He just threw himself up from his knees, which is just What a beast! He's a beast.
We needed it. I probably had him in the top 5 players on the ground for me, but just didn't quite give him that one. But he was terrific.
I'm sorry, Asava, because you definitely belong in that conversation.
Asava,
as well.
yeah. I mean, I think easily half a dozen players. I mean, there was even people saying in the Roll of Honour, where's Tanner Bruin? Well, we always get someone saying, where's this person? Where's that person? But
can't please everyone.
You can't please them all. All right. So, I noticed that we didn't cover any key stats, but was there any sort of, I mean, you kind of mentioned a few there with Grine and so forth, but was there any other sort of key stats that you wanted to touch on, or do you want to keep moving?
Danger was the lead when it came to tackles for the game.
Yep.
Clearances, I should say, for the Cats. For tackles, it was Tanner Bruin and Tom Atkins with 7 apiece. Interestingly, and I was talking to you about before the show about a guy who was hating on Mitch Duncan pretty hard throughout the course of the game and kind of calling him weak and not putting his head over the ball. Mitch Duncan was the lead contested possession getter in the entire game with 13.
There you go. Good on you, Mitch.
So let's jam it, mate.
Yeah.
Sorry, if it turned out that you were the one that recognised me in the crowd, well, I'm sorry. I guess it just painted that relationship. But you can stick it.
If you see Paul in the crowd next time, make sure you yell at the man, the myth, the legend. He is an absolute champ.
The man, the myth, the wanker.
And the guy in the panda suit, the sun bear suit. All right,
Gary Rowan with 4 tackles inside 50.
Yes.
By far and away the lead there. They're the little things, but it's the little things that we're kind of needing at the moment to potentially get us over the line right now. And
how many hit-outs for Gary Rowan?
Actually, I wonder if I'd be able to bring that up. I'm sure. Hang on.
While you're doing that, I'll touch.
Jack Henry was 6, Jeremy Cameron 1, 0 to
Gary Rowan.
0 to Gary Rowan.
There you go. All right, another midfielder in the middle of the ground anyway. All right, moving on to the socials because we're going to try and wrap this show up soon. So, Roll of Honour this week goes to Grine Myers. I think everyone's in agreement, strong agreement. I think he had about 70% of the vote. So, 4th time this year for Grine Myers on the Roll of Honour, just behind Tom Stewart, who's been up there 5 times so far. So, Grine is definitely going to be on the podium on Kaji Greaves Medal Night. I think we can all agree that surely he has to be up there. I don't know if he's going to do enough to win it. I think Tom Stewart probably is going to be hard to knock him off, but he's going to give it a red-hot crack. Mate, now, do you want me to do... Now, I was going to do Patreon. There was a question from Patreon, but have you got do you want to do some tweets first, or do you want to go with Patreon?
Yeah, I've got the tweets handy, so
let's do some tweets. Let's go with 3 or 4 tweets.
All right, awesome. You obviously put out the tweet for the ticks and crosses, and so we got a bit of feedback there from the fans, and quite a few comments there. From Mrs. Loz Noz, or Loz or Loz.
We love you, Loz.
Grine 2 ticks there. Ollie's first half, the 1 tick. Stewart 1. Must win game, and we got it done. Tick. Clearances, still not the greatest strength.
No.
And a sentiment that I'm seeing across a few comments, the commentary, XXX. Now, you'll be able to speak to this because obviously I was at the ground. Was it appalling?
Yeah. It's average. And it's just the same.
Who was on commentary?
Well, Lingy was there as well. Lingy tries to go too far the other way sometimes. I love you, Lingy. Come on the show, please, one day. But sometimes I think you're a bit too unbiased about the Cats. I think you try too hard to not come off as being one-eyed. But no, he was fine. I think it was BT from memory.
Okay, yeah. People just don't on BT as is the way.
Sometimes I actually block out the commentary and I'm actually just concentrating on the game and I'm not hearing it as much. But yeah, that wasn't great. It wasn't
fair enough. Kyrie Savadas, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that.
Yep,
Grine, tick. Ollie Henry 4 goals, tick. Asava solid, tick. Danger, Stewart and Duncan's 4th quarter, tick. Crucial game and we got the job done, tick. Cross, Rioli's 4 goals. Stanley terrible in the ruck. And undermanned Port still challenged us. And Channel 7 commentary, cross. There's 4 of them.
There's 4. Thank you, Kyrie.
Cassius Clay, KO. Asava was gun. Grine, best on ground. Ollie Henry's bag. And a sentiment that I've seen across a couple of these, Collar was horrible. Worst game I've seen Reece Stanley play in a while. And our midfield is poo.
We say that about Reece Stanley every other week, though, don't we? Like, he's great. He's fantastic. We need Reece in the team, and then he has a shocker, and it's like the worst game he's ever played. He's not. Geelong doesn't need the best ruckman in the comp to be successful. We just need Reece to play at his level, and sometimes he does, and sometimes he doesn't. It's just when he tries to turn it over with a 30-metre sideways. When he turns it over with a 30-metre sideways kick, I pull my hair out, mate. But I love the guy no matter what. He's like that silly little brother that you just love anyway. I don't know.
And I'll pull one more. It's not a tick or a cross, but it's from @TrunkLogic, who's got the stat of the day. And
Uh-huh.
this is an interesting one considering considering what had gone on earlier in the piece.
Yes.
Grine Myers had 1 goal assist for every Nick Dacos possession.
Yeah, that's true. He sure did. Nick Dacos, oh dear, he's out for 6 weeks, and I was going to touch on that in the news, but yeah, he's 6 weeks is a minimum. Nick Dacos is out for.
We'll also grab one here from Stevie J, who's not replied to your thing, but it's popped up on the socials anyway.
Oh, okay.
Grine gets 40 goal assists this season. He should be All Australian. It's the hardest stat to get in AFL football.
Yep.
Well, at least it takes the most skill and awareness.
And Stevie J was pretty good at it, so I'm sure he's probably he just wants everyone to remember how good he was too.
Remember from when I was doing it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Stevie, if you're watching, come on the show. All right, so we did put the call out to our Patreon members. Now, if you want to become a Patreon member, it's about $3 a month. But we did put the call out this week to our Patreon members to send in a question. And our question this week is from Jared Fox. And Jared says, if Geelong don't win the flag this year, then it is the end of an era. Is it the end of an era like some fans are saying, or is it too early to say? Or is it because injury has crippled us, meaning next year with a clean bill of health, we can reload and go again? And he's saying injury is probably the thing that's done us in this year. What's your thought, mate? Is it the end? I mean, I felt like when Selwood hung it up last year that it probably feels like the end. And then you start a new year and you get carried away all over again. But what's your read on where the Cats are headed this year and next?
I think there's a lot of importance. I think what's going to be quite important for the Cats is how we handle this upcoming trade and draft period, specifically on the trade side of it. I've done this in a video a while ago. I've referenced a few times on some of these reviews. That middle tier, that 24 to 27 age bracket, is something that we don't have as many players in as we should. We've obviously got a very, very old group, but we've also got a very young up and coming group that show incredible talent, but they're going to be inconsistent. They're going to have their ups and downs. They're going to still need to spend some time in the VFL. So if we can somehow pry out a Darcy Parish, as an example, someone like that, that kind of comes in, you'd take 6 years off, a Zach Tui or a Isaac Smith, who might be on the verge of retiring for all we know. I don't want to retire them, but they could be really close at this point.
You're entitled to have some thoughts, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're obviously very, very close to the end, whether it's this year or next. So if we can kind of cycle those in whilst those younger players are growing, then look, maybe next year is not a year where we may miss the 8, but I wouldn't imagine we see us in the bottom 4 or anything like that. And then you get the rumblings of Bailey Smith, for example, but you also get the development. Yeah, very nicely done, Bailey Smith. But you obviously get the natural growth that you're going to see from a Tanner Bruin, from an Ollie Henry, from a Jai Clark, from Mitch Nevitt and Ollie Dempsey, and all those guys start to come through and they start to enter that 24-year-old bracket where they should be starting to really hit their prime, like what we're seeing from a Zach Butters or a Connor Rosie, for example. So I feel like there's maybe 1 year, potentially next year, where it's a lesser thing. But also, if everyone comes back fit and firing and we don't get played with injury in the same way that we did this year, we could be right near the pointy end again because there's so much talent there on the list. I'd
be shocked and I'd be gladdened if we did make a top 4 again in the next 2 years. Yeah, it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be very, very tough. And I think the main thing that worries me the most is I don't think we're going to be a destination club moving forward. I think the age profile of the list is going to worry a few players, unless you're a former Falcon and like maybe a Darcy Parish. He's probably the one. But, is anyone else going to come? Of the Jeremy Cameron, I mean, he's probably one every 20 years, like a Brad Ottens or a Jeremy Cameron. Those types of guys don't come often, do they? They're hard to get.
No, I think we've got the model right in terms of what the club's doing behind the scenes. I'm not talking about the on-field stuff, which again, we may have a little dip, but the way they put everything together off-field, from trades to drafts to free agency, is just still pretty much the pinnacle of the industry. And so, while that's the case, you're going to be able to obviously pry the locals back, and that's where the primary focus is. But at the same time, you'll snaffle a Jeremy Cameron or someone like that from time to time, and that maintains that messaging and that dialogue and that optical thing that is Geelong as a must play spot. It's a destination club, and I think that's bound to continue.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. Anyway,
you watch also Joel Selwood just continue to build up his credits through Cricket Australia and doing the rugby and those sort of things, and start to enter the coaching scene. And you watch, he'll find himself at the Cats and
midfield coach at the Cats.
And eventually one of these days, probably the head of the club, and
a captain,
and then just look out after that.
A coach / CEO /
Yeah, you might do everything.
Everything.
It's quite possible.
Jared, thank you for that. Anyone else who wants to submit a question, maybe just join up for Patreon, whether it be for 1 month or a couple of months in a row. It's all good. Now, I did forget to mention, I was going to say this off the top of the show. I did get a very, very kind donation of 2 footy tickets to round 24 from Rob. So, Rob, if you are watching or listening, thank you very much to you and your partner. Really, really appreciate that for the Bulldogs game. Don't know what time the game's on yet and what day it is, but
we'll know by tomorrow.
I think Rob's travelling around, I think it's Europe, I think he might have said, or Australia.
Right.
But much appreciated, Rob. Paul, before we'll round up the show with a quick look ahead to next week. And so we've got Collingwood at the MCG on Friday night. So a 6-day break. Clearly, we lost to Collingwood last year, at the start of the year. It was a good game, though. Just Collingwood ran over us in the end. They are going to be without a couple of players. It looks like Nick Dacos could be out for 6 weeks as well, and a certain Brownlow medalist won't be playing either. I don't think so. Tom Mitchell could be out too. I don't know if that's confirmed.
Yeah, he's the one player whose name hasn't kind of popped up in the follow-up injury report today, as far as I know. But yeah, Murphy and Dacos are gone. Mitchell might be out as well.
Yep.
It's an interesting spot for us. I mean, we've kind of done what we said they need to do. They've got the 1 out of 2 wins from this block of 2 games.
Yep.
If we can push the Pies, if we can beat the Pies, that's an added bonus.
Oh, but we're playing finals if we beat the Pies.
Because at that point we really need to steal just one of the Dogs and the Saints, and
we beat the Dogs because we never lose to the Dogs at Kardinia Park. So
yeah,
we'll see. I think you can almost bank that. As good as the Dogs are going, they just don't beat us at Kardinia Park. Yeah. I'm predicting Pies will get us. I think it'll be a close game, but I think Pies will get us by a couple of goals. I hope I'm
Hawks
wrong.
got them. Anyone can.
Hawks got them. Hawks always get them though. It's just weird. It's a weird one, that matchup. Hawks always get the Pies. So I hope Jed Buse. Hopefully we see Jed come back in. I think Parfitt makes way again. I mean, he played okay when he came on.
Stats don't reflect how well he played from that quarter and change that he was on the field.
Just don't see him as the future. So
no, I agree. I still agree, but he played a great quarter and change.
If we've got, I'd still love to see your boy Mitch Nevitt come in as well, and a few other guys I'd like to see get a chance. You can't just play for now. You got to be thinking about the future as well. All right, so just quickly around the grounds before we close out the show. I'm just pulling up the results through.
I can wheel through some
beautiful.
of those.
Go for it.
Today has been a fascinating one as well. But obviously the round began with the Dogs tallying up the Tigers and putting the sword to their season. The Bombers, the Great Escape, that team that you suggested was going to be top 4, nearly lost to the team that is a borderline bottom of the ladder waffle team.
Not sure if they're making the finals now, but we'll cover that in another show.
Put a fork in them, they're done. The Crows getting the job done against the Suns.
Great win
the
there.
Hawks with the big surprise packet of the week.
Biggest upset in years.
Smacking the Pies around. We obviously got the job done. The Swans kept their season alive and also gave us a nice opportunity there with GWS getting a loss.
Thank you very much.
So that's fantastic as well. North gave Melbourne a right scare early on with the first 6 goals, or first six of the first 7.
Yep.
But the D's ran over them in the end.
Yep.
The Saints terrified Carlton for a while, and I think, again, probably scared us a little bit too, because we don't need them pinching a win that they shouldn't get.
And I tuned into Pommy's live show on the Blue Abroad channel. He was absolutely losing his mind, good and bad. But he's funny as that bloke. He's an absolute comedian. He's a classic, especially when the game's tight. Anyway. Yeah,
and Freo nearly pinched it from Brisbane too. They had the lead for the majority of the game.
Yep.
But it just couldn't quite. The Lions snuck their nose in front probably 10 to 12 minutes into the final quarter. And then it was just goal for goal from that point. So Freo couldn't quite steal it back. So the Lions right up there, and it's kind of with both Port and Collingwood losing, it certainly throws an interesting curveball in the mix for that top 4 side of things. But it won't impact us, unfortunately.
No, there's no impact. But you still want to see those top 4 teams
fascinating.
trip over themselves in the lead up to the finals. We'll close out the show, Paul, with a trivia question, if that's okay with you. And you love a trivia question. Now, in light of Buddy Franklin retiring during the week, I think it was during the week.
Yeah.
Question for you. It's a Buddy-related question, and it doesn't involve Geelong, strangely. But which team has Buddy kicked the least amount of goals on?
Oh, the fewest.
Yes.
Damn it! I saw this recently. It's there.
And if you get it right, and if you pick the number of goals, I'll give you. I'll buy you a slab of Bolter, whatever you.
No, for some reason I had the Suns in my head.
Will you be right? And for the slab of Bolter, how many goals? Don't you be looking at?
No. Get my hands up here.
If you get it right, I'm just going to stop recording and smash the
38.
Oh, it was an 8 on the end. It was 28.
Oh.
Hawthorn was the next, I think, because clearly,
he's old mob. Yeah, he spent half the time there.
He goes easy on them too, I suppose. Paul, another great show. You've been fantastic as always, Paul. Thank you very much. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below. Comment especially. We love getting the comments down below. We love interacting with the fans.
And we have to see a particular comment this week.
And if you saw Paul on the weekend, let us know. And make sure
if you're that person, and
as
long as you're not the Mitch Duncan person as well, then you're fine by me.
Don't be afraid to go up to him if you see him at a game and give him a big cuddle. He loves all that. No, he doesn't.
No, I'm fine with it. Whatever.
Just high five. Fist
let
bump.
me know who you are first. Don't just walk up and hug me though.
Yes, don't forget your boundaries. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye. See ya.